Hello everyone! Today I want to introduce you to my fleet Jem'Hadar support carrier. And fair warning, this is not an optimized build in any way or form. It is capable of elite content, but it is not like completely optimized. And I've just picked what I think is fun. Well, it's a mixture of what makes sense and what I just wanted, so there is that. But I like the look of this ship, right? Isn't she beautiful? Especially on a dark background with all the shiny parts. And it's quite imposing looking ship, I think. So yeah, let's get into my build. So as a start, I have chosen to use Polaron weapons because Jem'Hadar makes sort of sense. Although I don't have normal Polaron weapons, they look different. I have the chromatic Polarons from one of the temporal quests, right? And they were bluish, and then I have the piezo Polaron from the Lucari reputation, and also the torpedo from the reputation set. So I'm running the full set, which gives me more Polaron damage, and I don't much care about the protomatter infused torpedo, to be honest, but you know, I needed a torpedo and it's fitting. And the other set that I have, that's from a quest. It's one of the temporal quests, and this set gives you some auxiliary power. And I only have the 3-piece because I think I'd need a torpedo for the 4-piece, but that slot's already filled. And there is an clicky, so an ability I can activate for some more energy weapon damage, and you know, that's certainly useful. Now for the deflector, engine and shields, I'm running the Jem'Hadar because, well, Jem'Hadar. And they are by no means the best set out there, right? Also, set bonus further buffs Polaron damage. The 3-piece set bonus is an ability that I never use. I mostly have this because, you know, I just thought it fitting, and then I've slapped fleet warp core on it. You can also see a lot of my gear is not upgraded to like the highest rarity because I just don't care that much. It's very resource intensive to update everything, and it's also really not needed. Now in the rear weapon slots I have the cutting beam, part of it because I'm, I guess, old school, and there was a time when cutting beam was just, everyone was using it. But I've always liked it, you know. I feel like the small red beam cutting into enemies' hulls is quite nice. I'm running the Power 1 Proton Beam Array. It's nice, it works with cannon skills, and mostly I just also really like the visuals, and the resonance charge is quite effective. Obviously, being a proton weapon, it's not getting buffed by any of my consoles, but you know, it's a rear weapon, and it's the resonance charge actually seems fairly effective, but I also just really like the visuals. Then here is the turret from the quest set. So coming to the consoles, I have 4 consoles that buff my pets. They all have the additional Polaron damage to increase my main weapons. And then I have 2 isomechs with turn rate on it. This ship's turn rate is 5, like the base turn rate. If you don't do anything to increase its turn rate, you're going to be very sad. Like, especially if you're trying to use dual heavy cannons on this, you need to improve its turn rate somewhat, right? And why am I running 2 isomechs and 4 pet consoles? There isn't any math or any reason behind it. There's no logical reason behind it. It's just, I feel like I mainly want to buff my pets because I'm a carrier, but I also feel like a massive imposing ship like that, it feels like it should have a little bit more weapon power in it. So it's just like, I don't, for my personal head canon where this makes sense, but you know, you could fill all of that with pet consoles easily. Speaking of pets and consoles, I have the Swarmer Matrix, which further buffs pets. I have the Harmonic Yield Distribution, which also buffs pets and cannon damage, which is quite nice. Now the activatable ability here summons all pets around you and then fires some phaser damage thing. It's not really that effective, but being able to teleport your pets to you can be quite nice. But I'm not using it all that often. It's mostly just here for the passive pet buff, right? I'm always using the simulated module together with the cutting beam, so there is that, and then there are 2 set consoles, one the reputation and one the quest set, and both of them buff polo damage. This one also gives me more turn rate and shield capacity, and this one further gives me a bit of weapon power and exotic particle generator and torpedo damage. So not the worst consoles out there, definitely. I have the regenerative capacitor. I mean, the heal is quite nice, I feel like, because it can heal the pets. It's not necessarily needed in any way or form, and I could easily replace this with something else, I suppose. It's the one console I think that would be easiest to replace, because it's not all that relevant. I just like it, I guess. And then we have the Fleet Power Network Array from the Awani, which is a very nice console, because not only gives it gives weapon power haste to yourself, but also up to 12 pets. Now I have more than 12 pets, mind you, so they don't all get the buff, but some of them do. I have no idea how the game decides which ones get it, but it is certainly nice to have. Now let's talk a bit about trade. I mean, space reputation traits. I just have something like more damage and crit chance and crit severity. I have never unlocked like the last slot here. Maybe I will at some point, but my fleet is too small for it, and I'm too lazy to get a fleet invite currently. So there is that. It's mostly laziness that stops me. My space traits are not anything to write home about, right? I have some, like, for some more additional power. I have Independent Wingman. I suppose that's the most important one here for a carrier build. And I have Boimler Effect and Unconventional Systems, so some very popular traits, I suppose. But for the most part, they aren't anything too special. Starship traits, on the other hand, I have First for Battle, which is, well, it buffs damage, but it mostly helps with turn rate, right? Every time I use Cannon Scatter Volley, I'll buff my turn rate, which is very handy with cannons and a base turn rate of 5. I have the Repurposed Cargo Bay. This is such a fun trait. If essentially, whenever you launch a pad, you get a free Valkyrie fighter squadron as well, up to 6 maximum, so like a full hangar. Now the important thing to note about this trait is, right, as you can see, I have a Jem'Hadar support frigate. Actually, I forgot to mention the pets earlier. So I have the Jem'Hadar support frigates, and then I have Valor fighters in the other one. I like the support frigates because, you know, they provide a bit of support, and then the Valor ones are like for damage. But as you can see, I've launched one support frigate, and there is 1 squadron of Valkyries. But if I launch like my Valor fighters, so you can see there are going to be 3 Valor fighters launching here, but there are also 3 essentially Valkyries. So if you are only running frigates, you're not gonna get all 6 Valkyrie fighters, because you would launch in total 4 frigates, so you'd have 4 Valkyrie fighters essentially. But if you're running like 1 hangar of fighters yourselves, you could get all 6 Valkyrie fighters. So if you are using this trait with 1 hangar bay, it's important that you slot something small in there. And even if you're using it with 2 hangar bays, if you're running 2 frigates, like frigates in both hangars, you're not getting all of the possible Valkyries, so beware of that. But in a setup like this, right, I get all of my 6 Valkyries in addition to, you know, my my normal pets. So that's nice. It's kind of a 3rd hangar bay. The problem is you don't see them in the eye, so I have no way of seeing the health of my Valkyrie fighters. I mean, obviously you can see them hanging around there and I can click on them. But the UI doesn't tell you if they're down, and you can't actually resummon them unless your other fighters are down, right? So every time I summon a pet, if I have less than 6 Valkyrie fighters out, the Valkyrie fighters will respawn. But if like the Valkyrie fighters get destroyed, but your other pets are still alive, you can't resummon them. So that's another point. If I had 4 very tanky frigates here, right? the Valkyrie fighters might all be down, and the 4 frigates are still alive, and then I couldn't resummon the Valkyries. So that's something to keep in mind when using this trait. But it's a very fun trait. And it also, like, if you have 1 hangar bay, it's very useful, because if you have 1 hangar bay filled with fighters, you kind of get 2 fighter squadrons out of. Moving on, we were at the traits, so I have the Strike Group Command Authority. It essentially buffs all of your pets based on the strongest pet you have summoned. So if you have a multi-vector or a saucer out, every pet you have gets 50% bonus damage. In this case I only have a frigate out, so they only get 40% bonus damage. Now I could, there is like from the... how's it called? The normal Vanguard carrier, not the support carrier, that has a console that summons like a bigger pet. Technically, I could replace the structural capacitor with that, which would fit very well in my theme, would give me another pet, and it would even make this trait better, because that should count as a source separation. So there is that. That's definitely something to think about, because, I mean, the heal isn't that necessary, I suppose. I kind of like it, but maybe another pet would also be a way to go. Then I have Superior Error Denial, not a cheap trait to get, but a very nice trait to have for a carrier build, obviously. And yeah, it's really beautiful, especially if you have 3 hangars worth of pets out there. Trust me, it's very beautiful. Then I have Emergency Weapon Cycle, a very common trait for anyone with energy weapons, I suppose. And I have All Hands on Deck. That's a trait that I'm also considering replacing. It reduces the recharge time on science and captain abilities every time you use a tactical ability. Now, when it comes to recharge, this build is not really optimized in any way, and I know there are better ways to do things, but I don't much care about this. What I have, I should also mention, is duty officers, right? A lot of my stuff is pretty old school, because I've been playing this game since it released, essentially, right? And I've been playing it on and off, and I've only recently returned from a few years off break, so a lot of my mindset is still like 5 years behind or so. So I come from a time when it was normal to run like 3 damage control engineers. So essentially it means whenever I press emergency power to something, there's a good chance that a bridge officer will trigger and reduce the cooldown. So with 2 emergency powers, I can basically cycle them endlessly just with the 3 damage control engineers. And I have a warp core engineer, which has a chance to increase my powers whenever I use an emergency power. And then I have a duty officer, which has a chance to reduce the recharge time of cannon abilities. Which means with Boimler and that together, I usually can keep Scatter Volley up a lot of the time. And I know there is an extension trait. I could like kick this All Hands on Deck for the extension trait. I mean, I don't really need the recharge for the Science Bridge Officers all that much. The nice part is it helps with Captain ability recharge. And it's also just one of those things that was more common to use a long time ago. And I'm old. So as I've said, you know, there are a lot of things you could do better here. Or there are easy improvements, but hey. That's what I'm currently running, and you know, it works quite fine, I have to say. Yeah, I haven't talked about my stations here. So I have Gravity Well, I have Very Cold in Space, which is probably not a very good skill, but it just appeals to me. So Gravity Well, Scramble Sensors, and Tractor Beam are all unconventional systems triggers, so you know, they are also nice skills to have, I think. I especially love Gravity Well. The Very Cold in Space could easily be replaced with something else, but I don't know, I just like the skill, so there is that. The build is in no way optimized to make this very useful, but there we go. We have Scatter Volley, Torpedo Spread, and Tactical Team. I have Emergency Powered Weapons, Shields, and Engineering Team, and I got the Suppression Barrage, Hazard Emitters, and Science Team. Now I have to say something about the Tactical Science and Engineering Team. They are like, tactical team is mostly here to rebalance shields. I know shields get a lot of hate these days, and a lot of people just more into hull tanking. And if you have like the top level gear and everything, then hull tanking is clearly superior. But shields are not as useless as people make them out to be, and I've realized that some people seem to have forgotten that you can redistribute shields, and tactical team automatically redistributes shields, which is very powerful and very useful actually, especially if you are not that high-end equipped, if you don't have all of the healing consoles and fleet gear and so on. So there is that. Engineering and science team are not just heals, they are clears. Like, if you are in a patrol and you get hit with a scramble sense or something, or a subnucleonic beam or something by the NPCs, you're going to be very happy to carry a science team. And they are mostly there for their clearing effects, to be honest. Hazard emitters is a nice heal to have, and also very good clear, so... Also, as I said, I'm from a past era where it was normal to run those things. But, you know, it all works perfectly fine, I guess. So why don't we just hop into a patrol and I'll show you the ship in action, because maybe that's why you're here. Let's do... one of the new ones. Oh, I can't launch patrol from here. Be right back. And here I am.
Thank you for responding to our distress signals. We are
So
in your
this
debt,
is-
as always.
This is unwanted guests at Elite, and we're gonna blow up some
Because
more.
of this rarity, it was listed as a potential incursion point. We came to evaluate.
Okay.
Indeed. Thank you. The Vigilant stands ready to fight at your side.
Courage, reporting in. Operational status, red.
You must close the vortex.
Hey, here we
as
go.
possible. We
Let's
cannot
just
allow
gravity
it.
well. Hit them with everything. Now, obviously, I should have used the consoles before the unconventional system triggers. I'm a true professional. Nobody is here because I'm a professional. Let's be honest about this. And now we just hit them with everything we have. I can also order my ships to do an attack run here. And I mean, you know, I could.
The enemy has sent reinforcements.
Oh, he jumped right at. How dare they? Now, me being an engineer obviously further helps with survival, which is good. And as you can see, you know, my weapons are not really the right color for a normal Poron build, but I think it looks pretty nice. And I also think, right, this massive ship shooting a cannon scatter volley looks pretty neat, combined with all the pants flying around everywhere. Oh, I should close that vortex, shouldn't I? Yeah, I mean, as you can see, turn rate is not the strength of this ship, but especially if the scatter volley runs, it's pretty good. Also, by the way, yeah, I'm using emergency power to shields. It's not that bad of a skill, right? It gives you quite a bit of shield resistance. Helps with your shields. As I've said, shields are not as bad as people make them out to be. At least not in well, normal. I mean, this is Elite, right? But as you can see, my shields are doing a lot of work here. Even against the board. It's also important to note that the hazard emitters actually heals the Borg shield neutralizer, something that a lot of people don't seem to be aware of. So there is that. Now I could use, you know what, let's use that. So this is the teleport where all of your pets should teleport to me now and then fire a phaser thing. It's a fun console, it's obviously not the most effective, and since I'm not really geared for phaser damage,
Not waste any time. Close the vortex while you can.
Yeah, let's close the vortex.
Sensors indicate.
Hey, now comes the interesting part. Now we're going to fight the cube, and that's actually like... This cube might take a little while. And it's obviously the strongest here. I should have probably waited until my hazard emitters was ready again. Because without hazard emitters this might just be a little bit problematic. So we will definitely have to use a few abilities here.
Do not relent. We shall be victorious.
I could even use one of my pets here for a bit of shield healing. Technically, sitting still is also not the wisest thing. If you sit still, your defense essentially collapses, which means you're gonna get hit harder. Yeah, we've got a tactical team again. That's good news.
Through unity, we are strong.
Sure, I need to replenish some pets. You know what, let's get both of them onto shield healing duty.
These Borg are consistent indeed, which is why they never fail to underestimate us.
Okay. We are making some progress. Miracle Worker is ready if I need it. And I need it. Oh, there is a sphere remaining. You know what? Let's have my pants bought here.
Eliminate any remaining Borg vessels.
That didn't trigger. Never mind. Oh yeah, let's close that vortex. Well, that was an elite mission here, and I mean, obviously this is not like the most dangerous thing out there or the hardest content ever, but as you can see, the build performs fine. And as I've said, it's in no way optimized. It's just what I consider fun and what I enjoy playing, and it works fine. And I can only encourage you to play around with some abilities. Not everything always has to be perfect. And build the ship that you enjoy and play it. And I hope you also like carriers, because carriers are awesome. And on that note, have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.